Good morning. The secret of happiness is being grateful for the hurts one receives, for they are channels of understanding and wisdom.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Satsang. Please stand and let's start with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Guru Preceptors, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Master, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. Divine Mother, we open our hearts to thy love, to thy presence, to thy guidance in every difficulty of life, in every trial. We put our faith in thee. Receive us, Divine Mother. We are thy children. Be thou ours. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's chant with Swamiji, and through all trials, chant. Please sing along. You'll see the words. Clap if you have your instrument to play, feel free. And then afterwards, we'll meditate together for a few minutes.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam, Kevalam Jnanamurti, Dandvatitam Gaganasadrisham, Tattvamashyavilaksham. Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam, Sarvadeshakshibhutam, Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam, Sadgurum Svam Namami.
Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name, joy in thee is life's sole aim. life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim.
Go into meditation now. Let's inhale. Tense your whole body. Exhale. Double breath. Relax deeply. Inhale again. Double breath through the nostrils. Exhale. Relax, and once more. And exhale. Let's meditate just a few minutes together now. Now let's repeat this affirmation together loudly, more and more quietly. and then mentally. I'll read the whole affirmation first. I know that God's power is limitless, and as I am made in his image, I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. These are Master's words. Please repeat after me. I know that God's power is limitless. I know that God's power is limitless. And as I am made in his image, I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. I know that God's power is limitless. I know that God's power is limitless. As I am made in his image, as I am made in his image, I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. I know that God's power is limitless. I know that God's power is limitless. I am made in his image. I am made in his image. I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. Now mentally, I know that God's power is limitless. I know that God's power is limitless. I am made in his image. I am made in his image. I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. I too have the strength to overcome all obstacles. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's have the readings now, first from Whispers from Eternity and then from the Bhagavad Gita.
Good morning. This reading is from the Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. Demand that through all tests and trials, the love of God may never fade. O Spirit, I care not if all suffering come to me, or all things be taken away from me. I pray only that my love for thee never fade through my own negligence. May my love for thee burn brightly forever on the altar of my constant remembrance. Thank you.
This is a reading from the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Without conscious evil, there could be no conscious good. Without duality, there could be no cosmic manifestation of anything. On the ocean's surface, there would be no waves, nor any compensating troughs to keep the overall ocean level unchanged. Creation would never have come into being. The gradually evolving model people are forming of ultimate reality, and which the Bhagavad Gita firmly declares, suggests no final objective victory for either good or evil. Final victory is reserved only for individuals. Usually, in this world of duality, any victories are transient. They are necessarily balanced by defeats, owing to the nature of duality. Individual seekers of truth must die one by one beneath the agitation of the storm at the surface and find peace in the depths. Liberation is achieved singly, not by group effort. Though groups can at least provide a supportive environment for the individual aspirant, the exercise of conscience must be done personally and often solitarily. It is ever a matter between the individual and his maker. In God's eyes, there are no favorites. However, strange to say, his law does seem somehow to favor those who seek him earnestly. For the sincere seeker, the cosmos is like the sounding board of a musical instrument. It resonates with his consciousness and greatly enhances his power. For such a soul, miracles do indeed happen, though never in the sweetly sentimental, smilingly supportive way many Orthodox worshippers envision. What does happen is more like what happened at Kurukshetra, when Krishna agreed to be Arjuna's charioteer on the condition that he himself would take no active part in the battle. Arjuna gladly accepted this condition, for he realized correctly that whether active or not, Krishna's mere presence would in some way guarantee victory in the end. That, indeed, was what finally happened. And it is what happens in the private war of Kurukshetra within every individual.
Now we'll hear an excerpt from a talk by Swamiji. We'll hear an excerpt from a talk by Swamiji, and then we'll continue.
I feel that the real work that has to be done is right here, with individuals. If we can change the lives, the consciousness of one person, we can change the consciousness of many. You have possibly felt sometimes that you felt joyful, in tune. People were drawn to you and they didn't know why, but they started talking to you and their own lives felt blessed. You may have felt blessed in the company of somebody who was spiritual. That kind of magnetism is real. We can change the world this way, but we've got to build it. We've got to make it something real. We can't just wish it. And we've got to understand that now is the time. It's going to be much harder later, my dears. Much harder. If you're thinking, where's my next meal coming from, it's not that easy to think of God. Hilarity Mahasaya used to say, make a friend of God now in the summertime of your life. Find God now, and He'll be your friend in the wintertime of your life. Now is the time for seeking Him, when it's easy to. Don't wait until everything falls apart. Most people think that my house is burned down and my family has died and my wife's left me and I've lost my job. I'm going to renounce the world and seek God. Well, the world's renounced them. What we've got to do is say that now while I can and while I have my strength, let me do it. It'll be 1,000 times easier now than later. And the thing is that if you've done it now, that later time may not come. So, what I'm saying to you is not just for laughs and fun, although I like to laugh and I'm a joyful person. But I also want to make it clear that joy is a serious subject, this kind of joy that we're talking about. And this truth is a serious truth. Don't waste time. Don't be afraid to spend a little bit of time now. Don't think, oh, what will my family think? What does it matter what they think? You find God. You seek the truth within your own self. Live according to your own conscience.
Good morning, friends. It's such a wonderful day to greet you. We had such a blissful meditation yesterday. I hope many of you were there. It's a course, we could call it that, but the experience of God. And it's to guide people and help people to be able to meditate deeply and to have God contact. When times get hard, and as Swamiji says, they're not going to get easier, they'll be more and more difficult. What do we have to stand on? When I look at over my life and the life of many of my friends at Ananda, there have been many tests that would have broken other people completely. People who lost a spouse or lost a child or some other relative. People who had health problems. Several people who had cancer and died from cancer. Someone who had AIDS. There have been many, many challenges over the times at Ananda. But I remember, no matter what happened, and I recall one year, 7 of my friends died of cancer, various things. And people think, well, if you're on the spiritual path, nothing will happen to you. But many things do happen. And it's really up to God and Guru. We have certain karma. There's world karma, there's community karma, there's family karma, there's race karma, there's all kinds of karma. There's our own personal karma. And all of these things have to be worked out one way or another. But I ask myself, how did all the people I know and how did I get through those very difficult times? I can say Master's grace. And as I said the other day in a talk that Swamiji told one of the Nayaswamis, and he told me this too for the most part, he said, the techniques are great, they're wonderful, but ultimately it's God's grace that changes you. How do we open to that grace? Yes, through the practices. Yes, through chanting. Yes, through prayer. Yes, through spiritual study, through attunement, through being with other devotees. But in the final analysis, whatever test you go through, you can't get out of it by yourself. I think many people have tried difficult situations. I remember a time when one of my friends who passed away, her husband, he died suddenly. And it was just a shock to everyone. And so one day she was just just unconsolable, really. And she was near Swamiji and he said, oh, how can I help you? And she just couldn't even talk about it. I mean, it's very serious when Master called them karmic bombs when they come into your life. And Swamiji said to her, well, something like it's going to be okay. This was maybe a day or two after he just died suddenly on the road. And so she told me this story herself. She was my best friend. She said at that point, Swamiji left where she was in his house, and he went into his meditation room. And he stayed there about 30 minutes or so. And then he came back out and he never said anything about these things. This is the thing. He never said, I'm healing you. I'm praying for you. Master's going to heal you. He never, ever said. And so he didn't say anything to her, but she said, Dhyana, as soon as he came out of that room, I felt completely fine. And so Master's power, Swamiji's prayers and Swamiji's power coming to the devotee, your Guru Bhai's prayers. When you get to that point where you're really going through a major test, the techniques they can't really do it for you. I remember I could barely do Kriya. I could barely meditate. And the only thing that helped me was chanting. I just chanted my heart out. I just chanted and chanted and chanted. And that did help. But Master's power, Swamiji's power and help in your life, your Guru Bhai's prayers and their thoughts to help you to heal. Reading something from the masters, prayers to the masters, prayers to Babaji, to Lahiri Mahashaya, to you just have to have the master's power flowing into your life to make those changes. And there have been people tend to think that nothing will ever happen to me. I'm just fine. And I'm all for it. But I haven't seen that happen to one person that I know that they were just fine. I remember Jyotishan Deviji talking about the community being burned down. Everybody lost everything. 21 out of the 22 homes burned to the ground. No one had anything left. They had to rebuild. That was a major disaster for Ananda. But people came up. There were betrayals, there were lawsuits, there were so many things that happened in the time of Ananda. But what I saw is people gained strength. The people who ran away, who ran off. I remember one Acharya I heard speaking said, your karma will follow you. It will run after you and find you. You cannot hide. And so you can't run and you can't hide. And so people who ran off, went somewhere else, their lives were not very happy. The people who stood strong and changed their attitudes, their energy, their attunement, their strength. I remember Swamiji said when he started Ananda that there was just nothing there, it was just bare land. And he said, I had hoped that Divine Mother would help us and that through someone who would come and would pay for a lot of the things that we needed. And he said, she didn't. She didn't do it. We had to do it ourselves. And that's what needed to happen. We did it ourselves. And in that doing, the strength came, the attunement came, the spiritual growth came. You can't imagine growing spiritually sitting on the beach in Goa. The times in our lives, and look back at your life, the times in my life where I grew the most was when I was challenged the most. But nobody wants a challenge. People don't want a test. They just want just a wonderful life all the time. But a smooth life, Master said, is not a victorious life. I kid with the different students and classes because I always say, no, I'm going to give you an exam on this. I'm going to give you a quiz. And I look at their faces like, oh, no, not a test. But that's just kind of a sweet thing. But when you think about it, Divine Mother, she's asking you, do you want me or do you want these things? And I just love the beautiful story of Saint Anthony, who he was like a yogi. He lived in a tomb, Master said, for over 60 years. He lived to be 120 years old. And he lived there with hardly anything to eat. And he was a great soul. And one day, Satan appeared. And these tests they're tests that come. There's a force that comes and tries to throw you. There's karma that comes that tries to throw you. There's various things that happen. But who stays to the end? So Saint Anthony kept praying, and a force came and tried to stop him and said, don't you know you've been here all this long? There's no God. There's no Christ. You're wasting your time. And Saint Anthony said, I'm not going to give up my faith in God. And that's the devotee's mantra, really. I'm not going to give up. I don't care if I'm beaten and bruised. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep moving forward. And so Satan said, well, then I'm going to crack the tomb. And all around him, everything started breaking. And St. Anthony just kept saying, I'm not going to give up my faith. And seemingly, and this is what happens, I've seen it so many times, seemingly in the 11th hour, when you've done everything you can do, God appears. The hand of Master comes to help you. Babaji comes to strengthen you. And Christ appeared to St. Anthony, and the whole delusion just went away, it disappeared. And St. Anthony, and I think this is what all devotees ask. He asked the Lord, why didn't you come before? I was doing everything. I was trying everything. You let me suffer that much. And this is what people think. And Christ said to St. Anthony, I was there all the time. But he needed to grow in his own strength. Divine Mother tests your love. Do you want me or do you want these things? People say, no, I want to have both. But you have to put God first. It doesn't mean you can't have anything, but seek ye first the kingdom of God. And all you have to do is read the lives of the saints. Everyone, without fail, was tested immensely. Everyone. And Master in his life had so many, tests one after another. He said to Rajasi, he wrote to Rajasi when he was in America, and it just couldn't have been easy for him. But he was such a warrior, and he wanted us to be warriors. First test come, a person breaks apart and they're gone. I'm leaving the path. It didn't work for me. The Master showed how you have to be a warrior. He had so many different things that happened to him when he was there, but he wrote back to Rajasi and he said, if it weren't for you and a few others, I would never want to come back to America. And he was betrayed by his best friend. He had financial problems from the beginning until Rajasi Janakananda came and helped his work. Someone asked him, what are the assets of this organization? The Master said, none, God alone. What are the assets of our life? None, God alone. They had to plant tomatoes because they didn't have food to eat. They had tomato everything for meals all the time. Master's legs were paralyzed at a certain time. The temple of Golden Lotus Temple fell into the ocean. There many, many things happened, but he just kept giving his love and devotion and his life to God. Swamiji as well, one test after another. I don't know anyone who had more surgeries than him, who was in the hospital more than him, rather, for one thing or another. He didn't identify with it. And I think that's the most important thing in your life. If you can meditate like we did yesterday, and if you weren't there, I hope you will come. If you can spend more time in seclusion, just loving God, if you can pick up your harmonium or turn on the chants and chant, and if you can read something every day from Master and pray and feel my life is in God and Guru's hands. I give my life to them and let them guide you. I remember a humorous story in my life when we were living in Italy, and it was a testing time. I was in my late 20s, and at that age you think you know everything and you can do everything and you're invincible, and you probably went through that too. And so Swamiji asked several of us to go there and to serve. And I thought, well, it's just going to be a fun time, pasta, pizza, just going around Italy, having a wonderful time. And it was not that at all. Let me tell you, I grew up and fast and got rid of many delusions and got in tune during those 7 years that I was there. And I remember some of the times of the freezing cold. I won't go into it because you heard the stories, but just winter in a summer villa and no food and no money to speak of at all. I think the hardest part was you couldn't talk to anybody. There was no contact. This was in the mid 80s, so there was no internet. no laptop, no WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these things that we just keep in communication with people through. Nothing. Cost $3 a minute to call home. Nobody ever called anybody. And if people called us, we would say, if somebody was talking to somebody, who is that you're talking to? Can I talk to them as well? You just wanted to talk with somebody. And we had this in our mailbox because we never got any mail from anybody. I mean, even if the people tried to write, the letters didn't arrive. So we had a little picture of Master at the back of the mailbox, you know, in the back. So if you opened it, and if there was no mail, at least you saw Master. Master was always there, and there was never one letter that I can recall in the early days, but he was there. And I remember one wonderful story of me and Davy G. We just wanted to serve our guru. The rest of it didn't really matter. I mean, we were going through tapasya, but everybody goes through tapasya and you grow through it. At least my attunement was getting better, and I felt I was growing spiritually. But then Swamiji was going to give a lecture in Paris, France. And these were the years when he traveled alone, and he was on his own. And we heard about that, and we said, Swamiji can't be in Paris by himself. We've got to go help him. And so we did a little fundraiser. We got our money together. We went on the train all the way up to Paris and helped Swamiji. And by the way, one person only came to the talk, and that was it. I mean, everyone goes through tests and trials. But what was memorable to me is Davy G and I were on this train. It was just packed. It was packed like sardines. And I remember one trip, we couldn't get the window down. It was like 6 or 8 people, 4 one side of the bunk, 4 the other. I remember we were just so hot and we were sweating, and it was a long trip from where we were in northern Italy to Paris. And I remember just leaning over. Davy was on the bunk across from me, and I said, doesn't this remind you of a slave ship? And we just start bursting out in laughter. And that's what I think was what happens, is that you get to a point, yes, you're going through a test. Yes, you're going through a trial. Yes, it's painful. I've been through many painful times, but I have so much joy, and I'm grateful for what happened. It had to happen. And what Swamiji said when he was asked to leave his guru's organization, he said it was the most painful time of his life. He said he would just lie on his bed and stare up at the ceiling, even hoping to die, and that he felt Master didn't even love him anymore. And then he just said, I don't care if he doesn't love me, I love him. And he just kept praying and praying and praying. This was certainly a dark night of the soul. And then someone invited him to come and sing for, I think it was Speak and Sing for a program. And he said, no, I'm not going, because it was down, and said, no, please don't. And it was Indian friends who were asking him, Indians are persistent. This is what I've learned. So they kept asking him and calling him and said, we can't do it without you. And so Swamiji, just make sure I'm good on the time. So Swamiji finally agrees to go. So he goes and he speaks and he sings. And people said to him that they felt so much joy coming from him. And he thought, joy? I feel terrible. But he said, but they're right. Underneath everything, there's joy there. I can't feel it so much. And when you're going through a test and a trial, just know that there's always a river of joy. Now, what is that? That's God, like who came to St. Anthony and said, I was always there. Underneath your tests and trials is a deep joy. And I'll share one time I was going through a major disturbance in my life. I was just moving to India, and am I supposed to be in America or India? And it was a very confusing time. And my energy had dropped pretty badly. And I remember the day Devi Ji phoned me. They were here too, Jyotishji and Devi Ji. They were in India. We were all here, and Swamiji was here. And she said, well, Swamiji wants you to come with us. We're going to where we had a store in the Metropolitan Mall. And she said, he wants you to come and walk with us there through the mall. And I said, I was completely bought into the delusion. And this is what it is. People, oh no, I want to stay here. I like being moody. I like its pain. I have to comfort myself in that. And I just said, I just refused to go. And she said, Dhyana, you must come. It was like a command. So I was so glad that I did. I mean, my face was all puffy. My eyes were puffy because I'd been weeping. And so I got there, and I'll never forget, Swamiji put his hand on my shoulder and for balance. And he looked at me just very quietly, turned over, and he told me, Dhyana, now it's time for you to serve in a particular way, he told me. And I looked at him, I just thought, me? I can't serve myself even. What am I going to do for anybody else? And here again, it was a command. It wasn't if you feel like it, if you want to. And I didn't know what to do. I just stood in front of him with my hands like this, and tears were just flowing down my face. And he blessed me right then and there on the spot. And then he said, now you sit down here. We're, we're at the Barista, if you know that place. And the whole time this whole incident was happening, people were walking by with their shopping bags, and no one even looked over at us while Swamiji was blessing me. And I thought, you just gotta love India for that. Here's a saint blessing somebody. In America, people would, what's going on over there? But then he said, sit down here. And he said, I want you to do this, do this. This is your life now. You need to be here. And I just was so grateful. And I love what Jayaji says when people come for advice. He says, are you coming for advice? Or are you coming for support? And many people just want to be supported in their delusions. And they look at the picture of Master and say, Master told me to do it. And as Swamiji said, he's always smiling. On the picture, you have to be able to ask someone who you respect their advice, you respect their wisdom. If this is right or if that's not the right thing, instead of heading into delusions. And then Swamiji's told us a story of a monk who was with him in the monastery who had a dream. And he had this dream of all the monks racing towards God. And every so often someone would fall down and then they kept running. Most of them kept running. They would fall and they'd get up. And he said, they just kept running towards God. And Swamiji asked him, he said, was I running too? He said, yes, you were there. You were running too. He said, did I fall too? He says, everybody fell. I mean, everybody has tests and difficulties and situations that come up and karmic bombs that explode. He said, everybody fell. But what was important was who got up and kept running. And it's such a wonderful thought that this will happen, that will happen, this relationship won't work, this health thing will come, the job will fail, everything. Master said, you'll stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. Breaking worlds means everything around you could break, but you still have your faith in God. You get up and you just keep running. And as Master told one disciple, said, Master, I can't do it without your blessing. I need your blessing. He says, listen, my blessing's already there. Like it's been there all along. God's blessing is there. Your blessing is what's missing. And the other man who said, you can do it, Master. You're a master. He said, what do you think made me a master? By doing. So on this path, it's a part of life to have difficulties. You have to burn up your own karma. You created it. Whatever you created, you have the strength to undo it and to get out of it and to lift yourself up. I told one person who I hope is watching today who was going through an ailment, an illness, I said to her on WhatsApp, one of my good friends, I said, you just must rise up and walk. And isn't that what it has to be? And I said, you are well. And in your own mind, tell yourself, you must rise up and walk the path. Get up, no matter what happens. Master said that everybody's on the path. Some are walking, some are jogging, some are running fast, and some are running fast, but going the wrong way. We want to keep going. Run if you can, jog if you need to, walk if you need to, sit down for a while if you need to, but don't not keep moving forward towards the light, towards God, no matter what happens. And finally, I'll share the story of the spastic disciple Horace, who Master said was nearly fully liberated because of his devotion. Now, he had multiple sclerosis. And one disciple who was with Master one day had the thought in her mind, and this man was there. She had the thought in her mind, why doesn't he heal him? He has healing powers. Why does he heal him? And so many people think, why doesn't Master take this karma away from me? Well, Swamiji said, outright disaster he would take from you. But anything you needed to grow, he let you go through it. So this woman was thinking, why doesn't he heal him? He sees this man, he's a devotee, Master should help him. Master caught the thought, and he looks at her and he says, isn't it wonderful that Horace is working out all his karma that brought on that multiple sclerosis in his body? Isn't it just wonderful? And you can just see him saying that about all of us. Isn't it wonderful that they're going through this test so that they can grow? Isn't it wonderful that they can burn off that karma? Isn't it wonderful that they're going to be free? And that's the most important thing. If things come, I just keep thinking, thank you. More karma gone. Thank you. That's finished. And one time when I got rid of some karma, I knew it was a big bomb that burst. Once that day was gone and I let that go, I'm telling you, if I could levitate, I would have. I just felt so free. I said, it's worth it. The karma's finished. I don't have that karma anymore. And I told Swamiji about that, and he looked at me and said, very good. And so what you want Master to say is, very good. Not, oh, I have to baby you again. You want, how many more lifetimes do you want? The one man who left, who's going to leave, Master said, if you leave now, it'll be 200 more lifetimes before you come back to this point. Lifetimes, so this point in your spiritual growth. That man left. Master cried for him. When a man came back completely broken, Master said, I told you not to. I told you not to go. Another person, I think this was a woman who left the monastery to get married. Master said, if she had stayed 24 more hours, the karma would have been finished forever. You have no idea. We have no idea. It's like a nail in a board. You keep pulling, then pop, it's out. You don't ever have to deal with that karma again. Fight, like Arjuna. He had Krishna there, but Krishna didn't fight for him. He said, you must do it yourself, but I will be there, guiding you, protecting you, giving you lots of my good karma, Master said, so that you can make it through. God bless you all. And I want to finish with this reading from Swamiji's very beautiful excerpts from vows of renunciation. This is why we give vows, so people stick to it to the end. Vow for Kriya, vow for discipleship, and various other things in one's life. Swamiji says, any vow or pledge, any pledge one takes, what to speak of any vow, should have the force behind it of personal conviction. A mere pledge states, I am not yet certain, for I don't know fully myself in these matters, but this is the direction I would like to take. There is always a temptation on the upward climb to turn back in discouragement and declare, oh, but I find that it really is, after all, too high for me. There's a possibility of discouragement, of intense fatigue, even of such thoughts as, I wonder if I lock the back door of my house, maybe I'd better go back and make sure everything is still safe. A reawakened desire, in other words, to return to the lowlands of Maya. When one starts up a mountainside, however, no matter how strong his initial will to climb, he can't know everything that awaits him further on. He can only deal with the present and with his expectations of the journey. As the way grows steeper, he may have to check his heart, his breathing, his muscular endurance to see whether he is in fact up to the whole climb. The more obstacles he overcomes, of course, the greater his confidence he gains. It doesn't matter to him then that he isn't fully aware of what lies ahead. He is fully determined to reach God, no matter how many lifetimes it takes, and never to accept a lesser ideal. He vows never to stop until he reaches the top. Om Shanti Shanti. Now we'll sing two of Swamiji's songs. There'll be words on the screen. Sing along if you will, and then we'll do a blessing at the end.
The green summer fade and winter draw near. My Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend. The green summer fade and winter draw near. My Lord, in your presence presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent time, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend.
Listen, listen, whispering within your soul, hints of laughter, hints of joy, sweet songs of sadness, of quenchless yearning for the light, for my love, your true home. Long your heart has played the dance, long you've toyed with merest shadows of the treasures left behind you deep in your soul. Long you plumbed the dark for answers, long you've begged from beggars' empty hands, gifts of life they too were seeking, gifts none could share. Friend, how long will you wander? Friend, as long as you seek your home in a land where all are strangers, love locks her door. Leave to the weak his craven life, to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my saint, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Leave to the weak his craven life, to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my saint, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Turn, turn, turn within, in silence of soul, in cave of love, find my abode. Listen, listen, whispering within your soul, hints of laughter, hints of joy, sweet songs of sadness, of quenchless yearning for the light, for my love,
Please take this light into your consciousness as a blessing from God and our masters. Let's rub the hands together and share the blessings we felt today with the whole world. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion, and may I be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Great Masters, we bow again and again at thy feet for thy blessings, thy guidance, and for thy love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. God bless you all and have a wonderful day.